They can unravel the secrets of the universe. They can write algorithms, compose symphonies, or analyze the depths of human history. But when it comes to love, they often fall short. The same minds that can solve the most complex problems seem helpless when confronted with matters of the heart. You'd think intelligence would make relationships easier, better problem-solving, sharper communication, maybe even a knack for charming someone's socks off. But for a lot of brainy folks, love feels like a puzzle they can't crack. Why? Why do intelligent people, the thinkers, the philosophers, the geniuses, struggle so profoundly with love? Love is a universal pursuit, a force that drives poetry, art, and the deepest human desires. Yet for some, love remains an elusive riddle, a puzzle that defies logic and reason. Intelligent people, in particular, often find themselves tangled in the complexities of romantic relationships, struggling to bridge the gap between their minds and their hearts. Why is this so? What is it about intelligence that seems to complicate the seemingly simple act of loving and being loved? To explore this, we turn to the profound ideas of two of the greatest thinkers, Arthur Schopenhauer, the philosopher of pessimism, and Carl Jung, the pioneer of analytical psychology. Their insights reveal that the struggles intelligent people face in love stem from a potent mix of heightened self-awareness, idealistic expectations, and the tension between reason and instinct. Let's begin with Schopenhauer, whose view of love was both stark and revealing. Schopenhauer saw love not as a divine gift or a romantic ideal, but as a biological trick, a cunning ploy by nature to ensure the survival of the species. In his seminal work, The World as Will and Representation, he argued that love is driven by the will, a blind, irrational force that underlies all existence. This will, he said, pushes us toward reproduction, disguising its raw instincts in the garb of passion and romance. For Schopenhauer, when we fall in love, we're not choosing a soulmate based on shared values or intellectual compatibility. We're being manipulated by nature to select a partner who will produce the healthiest offspring. It's a sobering thought, one that strips away the fairy tale veneer of love and exposes its primal roots. To him, the feeling of falling in love wasn't spiritual or transcendent. It was evolutionary programming, a trap set by the unconscious to make us reproduce. We think we are choosing our partners freely, but Schopenhauer believed we are simply being used, vessels for the continuity of life. And here's the twist. Intelligent people are often more attuned to this illusion. They see the strings behind the puppet show. They sense the manipulation beneath the romance. And once the illusion is exposed, love starts to lose its magic. It becomes harder to surrender, harder to trust, harder to fall. To love, one must, to some degree, believe in the fantasy. Intelligent minds tend to resist that. They dissect it. They pull it apart until what's left is a pile of unromantic truths. Hormones, chemicals, projections, patterns. And the more they analyze it, the more they struggle to feel it. But it doesn't stop there. Schopenhauer also believed that love binds us to suffering. He saw existence as fundamentally painful. To live is to desire, and to desire is to suffer. Love, he said, is just one more way we become enslaved by desire. It gives us hope, but also vulnerability. It brings us connection, but also jealousy, fear, loss. The intelligent mind, aware of the impermanence of things, finds it hard to invest in something that could end in heartbreak or betrayal. Love, after all, is risky. It demands a kind of emotional surrender, something intelligence is often trained to resist. Then there's the matter of control. Highly intelligent people tend to seek order. They want to understand, to predict, to plan. Love, however, is unpredictable. It doesn't follow logic. It doesn't care about schedules or strategies. It arrives like a storm, uninvited and wild. And for someone who relies on reason, that can be terrifying. Love threatens the mind's illusion of control, and those who have built their identity on intellect often feel deeply uncomfortable when that control slips away. But what does this have to do with intelligent people? Schopenhauer's philosophy highlights a key conflict, the clash between reason and instinct. Intelligent individuals, with their sharp analytical minds, are acutely aware of this conflict. They question their emotions, dissect their attractions, and second-guess their choices. When they feel the pull of love, they don't simply surrender to it. They analyze it. Is this person truly right for me? Am I being swayed by superficial charm? What are the long-term implications of this relationship? These questions, while rational, can paralyze them, creating a barrier between their feelings and their actions. The more they think, the less they feel, and love, which thrives on spontaneity, begins to wither under the weight of scrutiny. This tendency to overthink is compounded by another trait Schopenhauer observed: the isolation of the intellectual. Intelligent people, he noted, often feel alienated from the world. Their ability to see through illusions, whether societal norms, superficial values, or even the romantic myths of love, sets them apart. They crave authenticity, but the world often feels shallow, filled with people who don't share their depth or curiosity. In love, this translates to a search for a partner who can match their intellectual and emotional intensity. But such partners are rare, and the intelligent person may find themselves caught in a cycle of disappointment, yearning for a connection that feels both profound and genuine. Schopenhauer's pessimism doesn't offer much hope here. He believed that human desires, including love, are doomed to frustration. The more we chase happiness, the more it slips away, leaving us with a sense of emptiness. For intelligent people, this frustration is amplified because they're not only aware of their desires, but also of the futility of chasing them. They see the biological underpinnings of love, the fleeting nature of passion, and the compromises inherent in relationships. This awareness can make them hesitant to dive into love, fearing it will never live up to their ideals or that it will inevitably fade. Yet Schopenhauer's view, while illuminating, is only half the story. Where he saw love as a trap, Carl Jung saw it as a journey, a path to self-discovery and transformation. Jung's psychology offers a more hopeful, though still complex, perspective on why intelligent people struggle with love. For Jung, love is not just about finding a partner, it's about confronting the hidden parts of ourselves. His concepts of the anima and animus, the shadow and individuation, provide a rich framework for understanding the inner battles that intelligent people face in relationships. Carl Jung believed that we are not fully conscious beings, that much of who we are lies hidden in the unconscious. And when we fall in love, we're not just connecting with another person. We're encountering the parts of ourselves that we've disowned, rejected, or never truly met. This is where things get complicated for intelligent people. You see, the more intellectual someone is, the more likely they are to live in their head. They become masters of thought, but strangers to their emotions. They suppress their instincts, their vulnerabilities, even their desires, all in service of the mind. But the unconscious doesn't forget. It stores everything, and when love enters the scene, it stirs all that hidden material to the surface. Jung believed that each of us carries an unconscious image of the opposite sex, the anima in men, the animus in women. These archetypes, shaped by our experiences, culture, and biology, influence who we're attracted to. For intelligent people, the anima or animus is often highly developed, imbued with idealized qualities like wisdom, creativity, or spiritual depth. They don't just want a partner, they want someone who embodies this inner ideal, someone who feels like a missing piece of their soul. This sets an incredibly high bar. A brilliant scientist might fall for an artist who seems to embody the creativity they lack, only to discover that the real person doesn't match the projection. The intelligent person, aware of this projection, may still cling to it, hoping to find someone who fulfills their inner vision. This idealism is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it drives intelligent people to seek meaningful, soul-deep connections. On the other hand, it makes them prone to disillusionment. Carl Jung argued that true love requires integrating these projections, recognizing that the qualities we seek in a partner are often parts of ourselves we haven't fully embraced. For someone with a sharp intellect, this process is daunting. They're used to mastering problems through logic, but love demands vulnerability, intuition, and a willingness to embrace the messy, irrational parts of the psyche. The intelligent person may resist this, preferring to stay in their head rather than risk the uncertainty of emotional exposure. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow further complicates things. The shadow is the part of ourselves we repress, the traits we deem unacceptable or unworthy. Intelligent people, who often pride themselves on their rationality and self-control, may have a particularly rigid shadow. They might suppress their neediness, anger, or insecurity, believing these emotions are beneath them. But in love, the shadow inevitably surfaces. A partner might trigger those buried feelings, leading to conflict or withdrawal. For example, an intellectual who prides themselves on independence might struggle when they feel clingy or jealous, unable to reconcile these emotions with their self-image. Instead of facing the shadow, they might intellectualize their feelings, creating distance in the relationship. Through relationships, we are forced to confront our fears, our insecurities, our dependency, our jealousy, all the parts of us we wish didn't exist. And that's another reason why intelligent people struggle with love. It exposes their weaknesses. The mind can't protect them from the rawness of emotion. It can't outthink heartbreak. It can't reason its way through attachment or longing. And so many intelligent people retreat. They prefer solitude, detachment, and independence, not because they don't crave love, but because love terrifies them. It's not that intelligent people are incapable of love. On the contrary, they often feel very deeply. But they also feel the weight of their awareness. They know how fragile everything is. They know how easily people change, how desires fade, how promises break. This knowledge creates emotional hesitation, a fear of diving in too deep, of losing themselves, of getting hurt. This brings us to Carl Jung's idea of individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole by integrating all parts of the psyche. Love, for Jung, is a crucible for individuation. It forces us to confront our projections, our shadow, and our unmet needs. But intelligent people, with their love of control and certainty, often resist this process. They want love to be neat, logical, and predictable. But it's anything but. The more they try to analyze or control it, the more they stifle its transformative potential. Jung would argue that their struggle with love is not a flaw, but an invitation. To let go of rigid expectations, to embrace vulnerability, and to see relationships as a path to growth rather than a destination. Because intelligent people are often deeply introspective, they are also deeply lonely. They yearn for a connection that can match the richness of their inner world. But when they do find someone, their own defenses get in the way. They analyze too much. They pull back when things get too intense. They see flaws too clearly. They fear vulnerability. They sabotage what they want most. Some even choose to remain alone, convinced that love is not worth the risk, or that no one could truly understand them. But deep down, the longing remains. So what's the solution? It's not to become less intelligent. It's to become more emotionally honest. Both Schopenhauer and Jung point to the same truth, though from opposite ends. We must confront ourselves. Arthur Schopenhauer reminds us that love is not as noble or pure as we'd like to believe. It is messy, driven by instincts, full of suffering. But he also reminds us to stop idealizing it, to see it for what it is, and perhaps love more humbly because of that. Carl Jung teaches us that love is the path to wholeness, that we meet ourselves through the other. But that requires courage, the courage to face our shadow, to admit our needs, to stop hiding behind intellect and start feeling. For intelligent people to love deeply, they must unlearn some of their mental habits. They must stop overanalyzing every emotion, stop expecting perfection, stop trying to predict the outcome of every relationship. They must accept that love is uncertain, that it's not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And maybe that's the most intelligent thing they can do. To surrender, not to foolishness, but to feeling. To let go, not of reason, but of the need to control. To love, not blindly, but bravely. Because love doesn't require intelligence, it requires presence. And sometimes the smartest people forget how to be present. They live in the past, analyzing what went wrong, or in the future, worrying what might go wrong. But love lives only in the now. It's in the quiet glance, the shared silence, the simple act of being seen and accepted. Schopenhauer would say that love enslaves us to nature. Jung would say that it awakens our soul. Maybe both are right. Maybe love is both a biological necessity and a spiritual initiation. Maybe it breaks us down so it can rebuild us, not as fragments of intellect, but as whole human beings. And maybe, just maybe, The reason intelligent people struggle with love is because love doesn't speak the language of the mind. It speaks the language of the heart, and the heart, no matter how wise we become, will always remain a mystery. But is there a way forward? Can intelligent people find love without sacrificing their depth or ideals? The answer lies in balance. From Schopenhauer, we learn to temper our expectations, to accept that love is imperfect and rooted in human nature. From Jung, we learn to embrace the journey, to see love as a mirror that reveals who we are and who we can become. Intelligent people must learn to quiet their overactive minds, to trust their emotions, and to take risks without guarantees. This doesn't mean abandoning their intellect, but using it wisely, to understand themselves, to communicate openly, and to build relationships grounded in mutual growth. Consider the story of Marie McGinn, a brilliant philosopher who spent years searching for the perfect partner. She analyzed every potential match, dismissing them for minor flaws or incompatibilities. Her intellect was her shield, protecting her from heartbreak, but also keeping love at bay. One day, she met someone who didn't fit her checklist, a warm, intuitive artist who challenged her to feel rather than think. At first, Marie resisted, dissecting their differences, but as she leaned into the relationship, she began to see her own rigidity, her fear of losing control. Through this connection, she discovered parts of herself she'd ignored, her playfulness, her need for closeness. Love didn't solve all her problems, but it taught her to live more fully in the present, to embrace imperfection. Another striking real-life example of an intelligent person struggling with love is Simone de Beauvoir, the French existentialist philosopher, feminist, and author of The Second Sex. She was one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th century, but her personal life, especially her romantic entanglement with fellow philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre, reflected the very paradox we're exploring. De Beauvoir and Sartre famously entered into a lifelong, open relationship, grounded in intellectual honesty and freedom. They vowed never to marry or live together, insisting that love should not become a prison. On paper, their arrangement was brilliant. Two free thinkers rejecting traditional norms, forging a new path of radical independence and connection. But behind this ideal was something far more complicated. Simone de Beauvoir, despite her intelligence, often struggled with emotional fulfillment. While her mind could accept the logic of their open relationship, her heart wrestled with jealousy, longing, and deep attachment. She engaged in multiple romantic affairs with students, some emotionally intense, others manipulative, and her letters reveal years of emotional suffering, even obsession. Sartre, for his part, was less emotionally available. Though he loved de Beauvoir in his own way, he maintained numerous affairs and often placed philosophy above intimacy. Their relationship, for all its brilliance, was haunted by a quiet emotional pain that neither of them could fully resolve. Here was a woman who could deconstruct the very concept of love, who could philosophize about freedom, identity, and the female experience, yet she could not shield herself from the rawness of desire, heartbreak, and emotional dependency. In many ways, de Beauvoir personifies the struggle of the intelligent heart. Her intellect sought freedom, logic, and autonomy, but her soul yearned for connection, closeness, and something irrationally human. Her life teaches us something essential. Intelligence doesn't make you immune to love's chaos, it just gives you more language to describe the pain. Simone de Beauvoir knew this. In one of her most vulnerable moments, she wrote, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." And perhaps the same can be said of lovers. One is not born, but becomes, painfully, beautifully, a lover. Through de Beauvoir, we see how even the most brilliant minds can lose themselves in the emotional labyrinth of love. Not because they are weak, but because love asks us to be more than intelligent. It asks us to be whole. Both Marie McGinn and de Beauvoir's story reflects a truth both Schopenhauer and Carl Jung would recognize. Love is not a puzzle to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. Intelligent people, with their gift for insight, have the potential to love deeply and meaningfully, if they can step out of their heads and into their hearts. This requires courage, humility, and a willingness to let go of the need for certainty. It means accepting that love, like life, is fleeting, flawed, and beautiful in its imperfection. In the end, the struggle of intelligent people with love is not a curse, but a reflection of their humanity. Their minds may complicate things, but their hearts, when given a chance, can lead them to connections that are as profound as they are real. Schopenhauer reminds us to stay grounded, to see love for what it is. Jung urges us to see it for what it could be, a path to wholeness. Together, they offer a roadmap for navigating the rocky terrain of love, not by outsmarting it, but by surrendering to its wisdom. For intelligent people, the challenge is clear: to love not just with their minds, but with their whole being, embracing the beauty and the chaos of it all.